All right, hello. Remember the 11th of May. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain why this ties in with two dates and there's an obvious date, the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, and also ties in with another day in November, which is Remembrance Sunday, which is 11/11. Okay, because the 11/11 is super important, because at the Hoover Dam, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's two inlet towers on each side of the dam. When I say on each side of the dam, within Lake Mead, the two inlet towers that sit within the water, and it's an 11/11. Okay, so it's a reference to the number 11, basically. And what's important about the number 11, well, we'll get into it in just a second, okay? But the number 11 is basically the central balancing number for reality. I'm going to go all out and say that's the number, okay? Well, actually, it isn't, because there's another number which isn't a number, um, which is 0, okay? So there's a number as well, or not a number, that is central to balance as well. But I'm telling you, it's a very important balance number, number 11. So, why am I looking at this now? Obviously, it's today, 5/11, and the reason why I'm looking at this is because within my decode chart, so I'm going to start losing some people right now. Within my decode chart, the chart of Lorraine, there is a hidden 11, okay? And also, the reason why I'm looking at this is just because of the connections with the dollar bill decodes, okay? The very fact that we have this reference to pi in the dollar bill, and we also have the reference then to the day after that thing, which is 11/11. So what I'm going to do is we'll go look at the dollar bill real quick, and because I really want to make this fairly short, and so we'll look at that, and we'll just have a quick look at my chart. So I'm not going to go into mega detail, and I'm going to try not to get off on a tangent too much. But that's what we're doing in this video. We're going to be looking at this day here, and obviously how this all ties together. All these days here, from basically, well, I mean, we could start at the start of May, but all these dates are really important. I mean, really moving on from the 8th, and in fact, Charlie Boy on the 6th there. I mean, just moving through all these days here in May, all the way up, at least to the 13th for sure, how these numbers are all important and how they all tie together, and how they tie together with 9/11, okay? So what we've got to do is we need to go to, now let's go to the actual dollar bill, and I'll show you how you get to this point here. Ignore this bump over here, that's just me. Yeah, that won't go, okay. Well, just ignore that for a minute. In fact, it would be better if we got that off out of the way. Or if I can just, let me see if I can get this moved over so it's not so confusing. Well, that's better, isn't it? That's better than it was anyway. So let's go to the dollar bill real quick, and I'll show you what we're looking at. Okay, the dollar bill, it's got a number of, I mean, you just got to, if you're new here, please just go back and watch all my dollar bill decodes. That it'll tell you every single decode that I've come across in this thing, and I don't know if there's any more to it, but just when I think I'm done, I find something else. But what we're going to be looking at is this shield over here coming over and joining up with this O, and they actually fit together a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. If you remember, the little owl guy is right here, and that's a fold marker. So it tells you where to fold this thing so these things will join up. So if you do that, okay, you'll end up with something like this, okay? And I got this upside down now so you can see it, but here is 10, 11. Okay, you can see it, right? That shield upside down with the O makes a 10, and then inside there's the 11. Okay, so that's 10, 11. Okay, that is all to do with the metaphysical side of reality. Okay, I'll discuss it again in a minute when we go to the chart of Lorraine. Okay, but 10, 11 is to do with the metaphysical side of reality. Now up here, right, we've got an 8. If you follow my cursor around, we've got this 8 with an 11 in it. We've got a 118. Okay, or we could include this thing here as well as a 1, and that would make us a 1118 as well, which is important, and I'll show you why in just a second in the chart of Lorraine. Okay, but this is all to do with the physical side of reality. Notice it's like two balls and a cane, a penis and two balls. Yeah, that phallic symbol, the erect phallic symbol, is a representation of the 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 physical side of nature. Okay, the physical side of man. You know, this includes men and women. Okay, but it's the physical side of our being. Okay, whereas this, the 10, 11, represents the spiritual side of our being. Okay, and those two things have to be balanced, right? And when the phallic symbol is erect, i.e., when that tower exists, okay, and when we follow the rules that are in nature, okay, because those rules already exist in nature, they're written into the very fabric, they're written into the stone of nature. If we follow those rules, then we will automatically be balanced, okay, because when one side of reality does one thing, the other side balances with it. So right now, the problem we've got is we're not following those rules. We're not remembering the rules that we've been given. Okay, we have become flaccid. We're flopping about like a snake on the floor. We are not. We need to be aroused by the spirituals, the spiritual side of reality. This is the metaphor with everybody having to take Viagra nowadays. Can't get it up. Well, sorry to be crude about it, but there's a metaphor there about man not following a righteous path. Okay, and this is the problem when you're on the V. You have to be. You get addicted to the V. But this is what we've got going on here. If we rotate this now, let's see if I can just click rotate 180 degrees. We can see what else is in this number, okay? Because they've been very cunning here. And what they've done is they've got this little tail that actually attaches to this 0 here, or this O. And this little tail makes this into a P. And then if we look at the shield now, it looks like an I. And this is pi. Yeah? Pi is pi. And those numbers of pi, which is 314, well, guess what? 1011, the 10th of November happens to be the 314th day of the year. Okay? So this is now telling us that this is also pi. Okay? And this is the reference for, again, part of the metaphysical. Now, this can be a corrupted version of pi, and you can go ahead and get stuck in that loop. Okay? And it becomes a prison, basically. You're not a free man anymore. You've been trapped inside the dam, and now you're just a flopping snake on the floor, sort of thing. The rod or the cane has now become the snake on the floor. Yeah, Moses reference. So this is the thing, right? This is what is going on here with this image right here. And these two things right here, are balanced. This is not in or completely out. Yeah, this phallic symbol here. Okay, it's neither up nor down. Are you getting it? The Grand Old Duke of York. This thing is balanced right now. Okay, that's what it's showing you, where we need to be as balanced people. Okay, so the day after 10/11 in so this is referencing 10/11 of the 11th of the 10th of November, and the day after that, which is the 315th day of the year, is 11/11, Remembrance Sunday. Remembrance Sunday. Okay. Now, also in the dollar bill, there's a set of number jumps that are 25 days apart. Okay, with reference to the quarter. Okay, and without spending ages explaining it, the jumps go, this is what's encoded in the dollar bill. The jumps go 5th of November, 30th of November, Christmas, 19th of January, okay, 911, and 213, the 13th of February. Okay, that's our 100-day number jump that's in the dollar bill, that encodes obviously the 5th of November in there, okay, amongst other things. So with that being said, now we can go to the chart of Lorraine and we can look at how this plays into another thing that I've added into the chart of Lorraine. Okay, so this is really going to lose new people now. I mean, it's just what I've done is what happens if I save? Okay, we'll see if we come back to that again as it stands. But what I've done is I've added in, let me put it on brushes and let me put a decent color on here, red. I've added in this 4 row here. Okay, this doesn't normally, for new people, this does not normally, I do not normally show this row in this table. I don't usually use it. Okay, it doesn't tally up here with our totals. Okay, this is not added into the totals, it's orange. Okay, the reason why this isn't normally in the table is when I first compiled this thing, right, I had basically some symmetry that was happening kind of along this line here, right? And there was some symmetry, and when we're talking about balance, we are talking about symmetry. And so this is why that 4 row I never put it into the table, basically, because there's 2, 3, and 5 repeated over here in Fibonacci, 2, 3, and 5, and what that led to was like a mirror effect in part of this table here. Okay, it's basically down through this line here, and then if you were to look either side of that line, like there's a 1, 1 mirrored, there's a 4, 4 mirrored. Okay, and in fact the 3, 1 and the 1, 3 is mirrored. The 2, 2 is mirrored across here. Okay, so there was some mirroring going on, which of course symbolizes symmetry, which symbolizes balance. Okay, so that's why that ended up being like that, and this 4 never ended up being in here. Okay, amongst other reasons, but that that's a condensed version of why that's not in there. Anyway, the other day, probably, when was it? Just yesterday, I was like, I wonder how the whatever number's missing here fits in, between 9 and 13, because 9 and 13 is a total for the 7 column, and the 7 column is all about balancing these 2 main columns, the metaphysical and the physical, okay, that are in this table, this chart. Okay, and this these 2 columns in themselves, this red and blue, form the number 11, the twin towers. And so the number 11 is super important in terms of a midpoint, as is 55 in terms of a midpoint between these 2 things. Because if we go between 5 and 6, yeah, that's 5.5. Okay, 55. If we go between 10 and 12, which is the full cycle of 5 is 10, and the full cycle of 6 is 12. Okay, so if we expand these 2 ideas out, what's between them is 11. So 11 and 55 are super duper important to dealing with balance, as is 0 as well. Okay, so without making this too long-winded, this number 11 right here, this is really interesting because this number 11 wouldn't normally be here, okay? We wouldn't normally see it. But this is what the number is between 9 and 13. So that number 11 is actually representing where this bottom blue downward arrow of the womb of the metaphysical is meeting with the upward red arrow of the physical, okay? And where those two things meet is a balance point, and this is another 11 at that central balance point there, okay? The same as between these two columns, you know, in the table right here, you know, where I'm drawing this little dot here now. If we take the two numbers that are adjacent to this little dot, it's a 1 and a 1, okay? The first two numbers that are adjacent to it is another 11, okay? So it's super important. And what I'm thinking now is when I'm looking at this, I'm like, so this number 11 is basically representing a 0. That's what it's representing, because the 0 is the Vesica Pisces, the gateway between both dimensions, all right? And so, of course, the 11 is representing that, and of course 101 is Hoover Dam Gematria. So not only that, but what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought now. But not only that, but on the dollar bill, you know, we have the 10 and the 11, you know, combined together, you know, with the one inside the other, okay? So this 1011, super duper important for the idea of balance, that balancing point, okay? See, I was looking at 5-9 for the Hoover Dam, in fact, amongst other dates that I've looked at for the Hoover Dam. But this 5-9, you know, this is the 9 at the bottom of the womb, okay? And what actually happened on 9/11, let's get rid of some of this. What actually happened on 9/11 was that this thing was removed. This 11, which is the gateway, or the balance between both sides of reality, was removed. There was no 11 anymore, yeah? 9. You know, go to German, 9, no. Okay, no 11, or even no L. Okay, Noel is basically to do with birth, and that's why we use that at Christmas, Noel. But that's basically what happened, okay? We were born, right, into the matrix. So this is like the idea of some people will refer to, I mean, there's people out there that refer to 9/11 as the birth of Christ, and it is in a way, okay? But the problem is, Christ jumped straight into, he was born and went straight into the matrix. And this is what happens to us at birth. You know, we're born into the world, and immediately they draw up a birth certificate, and a fictional entity is created that ends up controlling us. All right, and that is what is happening with the metaphor of 9/11. That balance was lost. Okay, the 11 was destroyed, and actually in its place, what actually happened was, this is what happened. Okay, there was a wall put up. Okay, and this thing was removed, okay, and the monolith took its place, okay? That thing was blocked off, okay, destroyed and gone. So now what we end up with is the number 9 is just stuck inside of the dam. There is no, we can't balance both sides of reality anymore, okay? So this is why today is so important. It not only does the numbers 5/11 obviously tie back to November the 5th with the reversal of the month and the days, okay, but also this 10/11, which we've gone on from 9 now, and we've now gone on 10, and we're now at 11 today. These two numbers are both to do with 11/11, okay? Because as we move into this 11, we have a reference back with the 1011 that's stuck in between here, amongst other things as well. But we have a reference back to this day here, okay, which is remember. It's not remember. It's Remembrance Sunday, okay, the end of World War One, which is, what do I want to say about it? Again, at the Hoover Dam, on each side of the dam, inside Lake Mead, is 2 inlet towers on each side of that dam, an 1111, okay, inside Lake Mead. And you'll notice actually that what's actually been happening at Lake Mead is slowly those 11s are coming out of the water. That's what it looks like as the lake goes down. It looks like those things are starting to protrude more out of the water, which is a reference to the idea of those things raising up again, becoming, remembering. You know, there's a point to Lake Mead dropping. There's a metaphor there, and that is the swamp draining. You know, that is those 2 11s resurrecting. Okay, that's why that thing is set up the way it is set up. Okay, so this 1011 that's in the dollar bill, and the next day on from that, which is this day, okay, 1111, super interesting, okay, because that 1111, this 11 that's in here, this 1011, the jump that we're doing in here, you know, you can also look at, let's get rid of that a minute, you can also look at, you know, oops, I didn't get anything on anything. We can also look at now, you know, we went from 5.9, now we're at 5.11, okay. So is this a day-to-day potential? Yeah, it is a potential day because the 11 is referencing that gateway between the two sides of reality. It's referencing the 10 very well, okay. And there's the whole idea of remembering, okay. So that's pretty interesting, okay. I'm forgetting something here, but where we're getting to is we're going down to this point here, which is 513, okay. Now there's a decode in this table which I'll just remind people of very, very quickly, is when we're in our Lucas number row here, okay, there's something special that goes on here because this is another birthday, this 213, okay, and which ends up being the 13th of February, okay. So if we take the remaining numbers right through to here and we add all of those up, we're going to come to 315, okay. Now note, 315, 513, okay, 315 takes us from this date here through to Christmas, okay. That's our number jump there, okay. This is super duper mental, okay, this 513 or 315, okay, amongst other places where that turns up. I mean, of course, I've mentioned it before to do with other portions of decodes in this chart. Not, you know, here's the obvious place where it turns up right here, right at 5-7, okay, the 53 shows up, and 5-7 is of course to do with completion of a cycle. Here's the 10 column, 10 is to do with completion, and 5-7, 570 is the total there, so 57. So all these things tie back to one another, but again, I don't really know. I mean, for me, this whole thing with the 13 here, with the upward arrow of man, and that whole scene now going back to blooming, oh, back to Speed with Keanu Reeves, and that thing coming up on Hollywood Boulevard there, that train smashing through the dam, and there's the Chinese theater in the background with playing Space Odyssey 2001 or whatever. I'm like, you know, oh my goodness, you know, it's just mental. You know, when I saw that 13 on that train, and I have this red arrow sticking up here, it was just absolutely an revelation, but it was just mental, completely nuts. But anyway, 513, we're coming up on that day as well. So this is why I keep saying, well, might just keep an eye out for 513 as well, because obviously this is the number of man here, the number in terms of being balanced. And again, this 13 now ties back to the 5-8, where in 5-6, where we started off this thing with the crowning here, and then the 5-8, which didn't really amount to anything. No, that's not the crowning, that's the crowning. Okay, and this 5-8 that really didn't amount to much at all, apart from it was Blue Monday in my other decode the other day. Now this 13 is tying into that. Super duper interesting anyway. What have I got to say about the whole thing with 9/11 now? Is now looking at this, this is for me, this is the symbolism that really happened on that day. Was this 11 here was removed, okay, and that's when the dam formed, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, okay, and that's when 9 got stuck inside here, the upside down man. Is he the upside down man or not, or is this the hanged man? I don't know which way around you want to put that, but 6 and the 9 changing places, okay. It's just interesting. Again, we can look at a few other things that happen along in this 4 row as well, just out of interest. This 118 happens to fall in the 9 column, or 94 reference, or 49 reference. Remember our 49 with Easter this year. And again, when we look at this as a mirror line here, this is more like the mirror line right here. But and that is pretty interesting, that mirror line. What's interesting about that mirror line is that opposite 4-9 was 4-7, Good Friday, that would have been, so if we go back, 8 would have been Saturday, 7 would have been Good Friday. So we have that mirroring in there, and right on the mirror line, or kind of some off-centered symmetrical to this thing, right in between there is this 513, which that just, it makes me wonder whether we're still dealing with stuff that is super linked together. So that this 118 is now linking us, and the 118 again, remember, is part to do with this number here, the center of the table again, with the number 11 on each side of that center. Oh, so there's a ton of cross-referencing back. And again, we go to the number 11 column for 11. We've got a 39 reference. Okay, pretty mental again. And I hope I did these numbers right. I never double checked them, but hopefully I added all that up right. And then if we go to the 14, which is again 14 and a 4 reference, a 144 reference, okay, with 4 and the 14 here, guess what we've got? We've got another 139, which is a total, balance number again. So, a 44 reference around that thing. And again, the 14 and the clock tower, 1004, these numbers show up either side of this 59. This is, we're still stuck. I'm guessing now 5-9 is we're still stuck in the dam. And so 5-10 yesterday was a 7,911 day jump. So super significant on 5-10. And of course we had all the references with the trains and the golden spike. Again, that's a phallic symbol going into the laurel, which is this is why they make a wreath out of laurel, where it is a crown, because again it's referencing the O. Okay, so I mean, I'm all over the place with the references here, but this is this is what happened at 9/11. 9/11 was the removal of this 11 down here, and the formation of the dam, essentially. And it's interesting. I mentioned that guy, Kaiser or whatever the hell his name was, that built the dam, or his company built the dam. And again, the dammer was, this guy right here, 5'9". Okay. We've also got Remy Malek, the guy that killed James Bond. Well, essentially caused the death of James Bond in the last Bond film. His birthday, I think, is maybe it's the 14th of May. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that was interesting because I just watched that again the other day, and also the link with Mr. Robot as well, and all that 5'9" stuff that was on the tombstone and everything. With his father, pretty interesting again that 14 is the next number on here, and 14 is obviously a reference to these 14s again here. Okay, and I hope I'm getting that right. And but again, another little quick reference with that guy, while I've got it up here. Here's the poison garden in No Time to Die. Check out this portion of the thing, the dam again, okay? And actually Bond walks up and down this during the last sort of scenes there. So again, it's just I don't know. The symbolism seems to be there for me. It seems to be there. Maybe I'm completely nuts. Oh, one other thing to mention. Back to the Kentucky Derby. While I'm thinking about it, we had Mage as the winner, 8. So May 8th. And then with the two fills and Angel of Empire, again, 314 with their numbers. And the red or rust and the... Look at the colours here that they've got them in, and the Mary colours of the metaphysical, okay, and the physical colours there with the red and the yellow. So again, something that I just forgot to mention in the other one. I mean, I just forget all kinds of stuff when I'm doing these videos, and it's just like I'll go back through them and I'm like, oh no, forgot to mention that. And now the way I'm doing it now, I'm probably going to have to just only put it in the comments, because sometimes I'll drop a little caption in if I've forgotten something or said something wrong. I noticed there was something that I said wrong in the last video. Apologise for that. I think it was something to do with 58 again as well. I think I just misspoke. I was talking about 28 being the mirror of 58. And I think I said 25 or something daft. But yeah, please ignore the misspoken parts. You can probably tell where they're at. I don't really have anything else to say. There is one last little thing, okay, and let's put it in actually. I was doing a different number jump there. Let's put it in real quick. February the 13th, okay, and I'm going to go 88 days, and let's see where that comes out. 12th of May, okay, a number I haven't talked about right here, but that is right in between. Again, when we're talking about balance, so this 12th of May, this 512 is right in between. It's almost stuck in there with the 10 and 11. Okay, so this is interesting. Where Doc says in Back to the Future, he says when this baby hits 88 miles an hour, you can see some serious shite. Okay, that's why I had that jump in from Pi Day, which is Einstein's birthday, because Einstein's in the DeLorean there, and that happens to go to the 10th of June, but that's why I had that in there. But when you go from February the 13th, which is the start of this right here, and you go 88 days, it's going to take you to the 12 that's in between here as well. And I want to show you something else that connects back to that now then. So we get to the 12th of May, and what's important about the 12th of May, if I show you it, now you can see it. Okay, May 21, or if we read that in reverse, it's 12th of May, right at the top of the dartboard. Okay, it's pretty, I don't know what to say about it, but it's pretty interesting. And the 12th of May also ties into 129, and this 129, 129th day of the year, is 59. So all these numbers right here are tying in pretty mentally now for the 12th of May. And just a couple of other things with these numbers. The 13th, you'll notice the 133, which is part of, people that have watched my stuff now will know this. The 133 is part of the cross of St. Andrew that is in the table, okay, going through the center point of going through the center point. What am I trying to say here? Is going through the center point of the 11. Okay, again, a good reference back to balance. But this is interesting. I don't know. Let me show you that real quick. Here's our 133 coming through. This is the center point, and so I've got this black cross now, that is the cross of St. Andrew in here. There's a center point for that, and here's our 133. And again, 133 is the Mac. Okay, the 13th letter of the alphabet, the third letter of the alphabet, return of the Mac. Okay. I think I'm done. My voice is starting to go. Hope you enjoyed that one. I apologize that it was a lot of talking, and I apologize to new people. You probably got completely lost. If you made it through there, well done. Again, this is the video that will explain this chart. And yeah, that's how 9/11 connects to Remembrance Day and Remember Guy Fawkes and the 11th of May. And not only the 11th of May, but the 10th, the 9th, the 12th, and the 13th, and back all the way to the crowning. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. I probably missed a ton of stuff out of there, but anyway, I just wanted to do it, seeing as it was the day, and I would just keep them peeled for the next few days. Maybe something happens. I don't know. Okay. All right. Cheers. Bye.